Hello, today in this presentation I'll be explaining the three-tiered model of school-wide positive behavioral interventions and supports, or SWPBIS, and how each tier varies in terms of support, assessment, and intensity. And then at the end I'll also analyze the sample data distribution provided to share what it might indicate about a school's behavioral support system and how it's working or not working. So let's go ahead and start at the bottom with Tier 1. So these are the universal supports, or the core level. Tier 1 supports are designed for all students, and typically this is about 80% of the student population. The goal is to proactively teach and reinforce expected behaviors throughout the entire school. These supports include clearly defined expectations for behavior, regular instruction and modeling for those expectations, consistent acknowledgement of positive behaviors, and also consequences for rule violations that are uniform. So assessment at Tier 1 is also universal. Schools use school-wide data like office discipline referrals to monitor overall behavior trends. This type of intensity is low, and the focus at Tier 1 is on prevention and then early intervention. Again, it's for that 80% of students. For Tier 2, this is for students who are at risk and do not respond adequately to Tier 1 supports. And typically, this is about 10 to 15% of the student population. These students receive targeted small group supports, interventions such as check-in, check-out, social skills groups, mentoring programs, and then the assessment here is also more focused. So staff monitor the student progress through behavior tracking tools, targeted data collection, and goal setting. And for intensity, Tier 2 is moderate. So the interventions are more structured and they're more frequent than those at Tier 1 with the 80% of students. For Tier 3, this is our intensive individualized supports. So Tier 3 provides the most intensive individualized interventions for students, and this is for chronic or severe behavior concerns. And most of the time, this is typically 1 to 5% of students at a school. These types of supports include functional behavior assessments, BIPs, behavior intervention plans, services with school psychologists, counselors, and even sometimes agencies outside the school they are referred to. Assessment at this level is super individualized, based on ongoing detailed data collection, students constantly being monitored for effectiveness and adjustments. These interventions are intensive, the most intensive out of all three tiers. They're often one-on-one, and they also require collaboration across multiple staff members and sometimes families as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the data provided. So at Tier 1, we're at 50%, at Tier 2, 30%, and at Tier 3, 20%. So right away, after looking at this distribution, we can see that it's concerning. Ideally, we want to see, again, about 80% of students succeeding at the Tier 1 level, and here we have 50. The fact that only 50 are responding to Tier 1 suggests that the universal systems may not be effective, or they're not being consistently implemented. And then 30% at Tier 2 and 20% at Tier 3, that means half the school needs more intensive support. So this can strain resources and staff and is definitely not sustainable. So when it comes to recommendations, after looking at this distribution, it's time to review. So we need to review and strengthen the Tier 1 supports. We need to ask, are the behavioral expectations clearly taught? Are they reinforced? Are the staff consistent? We need to reassess the fidelity of the Tier 1 supports. We need to evaluate whether the core practices are being implemented with fidelity. Provide additional Tier 1 training for staff. We have to ensure school-wide consistency in behavior management. That could be a big reason why the percentages are so high. And then again, for all three of these tiers, need to use data to pinpoint all of these different problem areas. So whether it's certain times of day where things are more rough, areas of the school, specific behaviors. You got to find out what is driving the referrals. But most importantly, reinforcing Tier 1, by reinforcing it, the goal is to reduce the need for Tier 2 and 3. So this creates a more balanced and sustainable system when you target the Tier 1 and bring down that percentage. But overall, SWPBIS provides a proactive tiered approach to improving student behavior and the school climate. And by understanding the differences in support assessment and intensity across Tier 1, 2, and 3, and using data effectively, we can make those meaningful changes that benefit all students. So thank you very much.